Welcome back to another episode of Projecting Grandeur. I'm your host, Ron Dichter. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for being part of our community. I want to talk today about knowing when to say when. Whether it's an idea, whether it's a new hire, whether it's a new product, a new distribution model, when do you say enough is enough and this is simply not going to work? I'm in full startup mode now, and in full startup mode, you tend to try a lot of things. I try a lot of things from selling, try a lot of things from supporting, try a lot of things from products and tangents and adjacencies to your product, as well as in new hires, maybe taking some risks on some people, or maybe not having a fully defined role and hoping somebody can grow into it. All of these things are somewhat speculative. And before I get into any of this, I want to just quickly mention that when I try an idea, I use the concept of sticky mud. You've heard the saying, throw mud on the wall. And the concept behind that is you throw mud on the wall and you see what sticks. Well, I take that one step further. I like to throw sticky mud on the wall. So the mud that I'm throwing, I believe through hypothesis and theory and writing down a plan, that what I'm going to do makes sense. Meaning on paper, it should work. Doesn't mean that it will, but at least on paper in my brain, if these things happen, then this thing will sell, this thing will support, this thing will, be accepted in the market, whatever it is. Like I try to throw sticky mud on the wall. But there is a point in time where you have to decide if it's just simply not going to work. And it's sometimes not as clear and defined as you would like it to be, and it can be a little bit more abstract, because I believe that over time, if you do something that's having even just the slightest bit of success, it will work. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's worth the time, right? Just because something's going to work after X number of months, days, years, weeks, whatever it is, doesn't necessarily mean that it's worthwhile in what you spend your time to do. And so I try to really focus on the best ideas that I can, and then having a clear and defined goal. And if that goal isn't met, that I make the choice of what I do next. And when I set these goals, I do it in a range where, let's just say, for example, I have a new part of my software, since I'm in the software business, that I'm building, and I have this new feature that I'm building that I'm expecting X number of dollars in return. And then there's the how much it costs to support it and all those things that play in. But what I do is I say, okay, if I spend $50,000 building out this feature, and I put this feature into the market, and let's say it takes me 500 customers to break even on a 12-month basis on how much they would pay in SaaS fees. So I'll set a range and say, okay, if I don't have X number of customers on the platform by 6 months, then this project's not worthwhile. But that doesn't mean that if I just kept doing it, as long as I'm getting customers, that eventually it's going to make sense. But again, the long term of that may not be what everyone has from both a time nor a resource commitment to be able to support that. So knowing when to say when, you have to do things up front to define what that journey looks like, what success looks like, what it is you're trying to accomplish. So and again, I'm not here to tell you how much dollars and or time you should invest in it. What I am here to tell you is that you should know how much time, effort, and dollars you're going to invest in it. So if you are about to launch something, whether it's a new business, whether it's a component of your business, whether it's a new product, whatever it is, you have to be able to, number one, know that it's sticky, right? It's sticky mud. You can throw it on the wall. You have a good chance of succeeding because you have a well thought out plan. And then two, you up front have to define what are your expectations. Now, I'm not talking lofty goals here. I'm talking set a realistic minimum target for this to work and a hopeful target for this to make tons of sense. Meaning you may have a low bar, basically saying if it gets to this point, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. But you also may have a high bar that says if it does this, I'm actually willing to put more investment into this, whether it be in time, people, resources, whatever it is. And so having those guardrails in place allows you to have a little bit more discipline when you're making those decisions of knowing when to say when. Same thing could happen with people. I'm hiring a new distribution model for a part of our software that we're just launching. And again, we've spent a ton of time building it, ton of time putting together a pro forma of what we think is going to happen, how we think it's going to work and be accepted by the market. but we don't know, what exactly a salesperson's, aptitude on the information is going to be. We don't know how long it's going to take to get them trained up. We also don't know, what to expect from the quota. So what we did is we said, look, like regardless of if someone can do this, we believe that if these metrics happen, that this is going to be the result. And if at the end of the day, we can't hit this target with this person, no matter how much we like them, no matter how much we think that over time we can develop them, it's simply just not worth it, because we'll have so much investment into them that we'll never recover our money. And so we created these, these quotas, if you will, of, like this is the minimum expectation at 3 weeks. This is the minimum expectation at 6 months. This is the minimum expectation at 1 year, and then kind of what it looks like post 1 year. And it gives us, kind of these gates or these checkpoints, that we can make sure that people are hitting their targets to make this make sense. So as you start working through whatever you're doing, again, whether you're launching a new product, whether you're launching a new feature, whether you're launching a new service, whether you're adding a new distribution model, trying something different, make sure it's sticky. Make sure you've thought it through. Make sure you understand what good looks like. Then make sure you understand what it is that your targets are, right? What is the minimum that I'm willing to do with this for it to make sense to continue? And then what is the high end of that, so that it would further me to put more investment in? And then stick to that. Be disciplined. Be really, really rigid to the plan that you set out for, and hold yourself accountable to your expectations. And that's when you will know when to say when. If something isn't meeting those expectations, then it's time for you to pull the plug, move on, put those resources into a different bucket of the business or a bucket of your life, and move on from it. So anyway, I hope you find this helpful. Hopefully my journey of building businesses, and my experience can be beneficial to you. And since I am in startup mode right now, I'm living it with you, and I'm going to give you kind of my modern take on some of the things that I've been doing for the last 30 years, and they may change over time. And so I'll share those with you here, and I hope you find value. So please remember to like and comment. Most importantly, share, because I'm doing this because I care. I want the world to be better, and I think entrepreneurs, I think people who drive, the economy forward are the linchpin of success for us as a country, us as a world. So I'm here to help you. Have a good day.